Hey Airbnb family, yeah, it's totally crazy. Airbnb changed their front end, user experience is completely different, and they changed their algorithm. So now you aren't getting any bookings. Airbnb just ripped your summer right out of your hands, right? No, that's actually wrong. Sure, there is a summer slowdown right now because of the economy, but the reason why your listing isn't getting bookings is because your listing sucks. And not to really be terribly offensive, but somebody needs to smack you upside your head, because we've talked about all the subject matter to have fixed your problem over the last year. I could just show you all the videos, but instead I'm actually gonna give you all of the reasons today why your listing sucks and is no longer getting bookings. From your loving friend Sean, someone needs to give you some tough love. Let's jump in. Welcome back, family. Yes, I'm being tough on you today because someone needs to. In every Facebook group I'm in right now, a lot of you are like, I'm not getting any bookings, Airbnb changed everything. I'm gonna explain to you in this video why Airbnb actually didn't change anything that affects you. They made a couple changes, but they don't actually affect your business. You're looking at it the wrong way. And I'm gonna talk to you about the parts of your Airbnb business that you need to fix if you wanna get bookings again. Because there are a lot of stuff that you should have been doing this whole last year and you haven't been doing it because Airbnb's been too easy, and now you have to change some stuff. And I mean this with all the love in the world, guys. For those of you that don't know me, my name's Sean Rocky Geach. I'm an Airbnb host for 7 years. I built my portfolio with $4,000 out of pocket. I now have 120 properties, and we're gonna be up to about 170 before the year's over. I've made over $10 million on just the Airbnb platform alone, and we're cranking bookings on Vrbo right now. Life is good. We're even touching things like PEERSPACE, which I teach in other videos. If this is your first time watching my channel, I'm glad you're finally here. This is the only place on the internet that actually teaches you how to Airbnb without the BS, without the fluff. Here's what Airbnb changed. They changed their user interface, and they did it for a very strict reason. I need you guys to hang in on this video. You need to listen to this stuff. So they changed their front end for a very specific reason, and Vrbo is the reason why. If you were here 7 years ago, 10 years ago when Airbnb was young, like their pitch was stay with a host. Do you remember that, right? Stay with a host. That was their thing. Stay with a local, actually, I think is more specifically what they were going with. The whole idea of not paying a hotel so that you'd stay with someone local and you have a real connection, real experience. Well, those days are kind of gone. A lot of the travelers have changed on Airbnb, and a lot of the users on Airbnb, host and guest side alike, they're not happy with Airbnb. I mean, you can't help it, they just grew too big. And so Vrbo has come out of nowhere with this marketing campaign, and they've just picked up a ton of bookings. Nearly half of my bookings on my calendar right now are Vrbo bookings. It's crazy because I'm urban. I have apartments inside the city. But for those of you with houses, stay tuned. I coach thousands of students across the world, and we talk about things like occupancy and pricing and everything all day, every day. This is something that I do. So if you have houses, this is still relevant. But what you need to understand is the reason why we've gotten to this point is that Airbnb needs a new way up, because now the problem is every new user they get on Airbnb, that person could go to Vrbo, because all the same properties are on Vrbo for the most part. Well, Airbnb has one very specific section of properties that Vrbo doesn't have or doesn't curate like Airbnb can. Those are all the unique spaces, the architecture, the domes, the tiny homes, all that good stuff. Airbnb is looking to push more unique spaces so that way when a person who doesn't use Airbnb yet, when they go on that first landing page, airbnb.com, they'll see this curation of all these really unique spaces that creates a fresh branding opportunity for Airbnb. But what you need to know about this is that it only affects fresh users or people who don't already have a habit in the space. So highly likely, if you've been hosting for years and people travel to your location with any frequency at all, the people who are going to your place are people that already use Airbnb plenty of times. And those people know how to use Airbnb their way. So Airbnb changing that landing page is not affecting your bookings. The only way it could affect your bookings is if somebody was going to land on Airbnb's page and somehow find the way to your listing because Airbnb pushed it. Otherwise, they're gonna find something else. Unless Airbnb was pushing your listing on the landing page, this isn't affecting you. There's only one minor change that could affect you, which is that when you do search for a place like, say, Dallas or Seattle or Phoenix or Chicago or Bozeman, Montana, something like that, when you go and land on that screen, the title no longer shows. Airbnb's made a bunch of other cool little changes along the way, like the little bubbles at the top. They modify based on what city that you're in or what area you're in, and we covered all those types of changes way back in other videos that you probably missed because you're watching things that are more fun and entertaining, but you're not watching things that are educational, and you need to be paying more attention to your business because this is your money on the line, guys. So snapping into the boring factional content that we're looking at, the only thing you really have to be considering now is what to do about the fact that your listing title is gone. Now, with my students, the way that this could affect us is that I tell tell my students to put the fact that they have a king bed in their title. Now the king bed in the title helps for people to click on that listing because they want a king bed, but Airbnb doesn't have a search bar for king bed. They don't allow you to choose a king bed yet. They will eventually change that because that will become a factor, but for now, the only way that somebody would know that you had a king bed is if it was listed in your title or very early in your description. Well, Airbnb's search experience now is photos only, and the other thing they changed is they upped their sample size. So when you load your initial load page, if there are a ton of listings, normally it would cap out at 300 plus. Well, Airbnb made it cap out at 1,000 plus. They want to really sell to guests that they are more permeating. They want you to see that there's 1,000 plus listings somewhere, and it allows them to pull a larger sample size. They have a data group of 1,000. For you data people, you'll understand why this is important. Having 1,000 of something and taking the best 1% of 1,000 will give you more consistent results than taking the best 1% of 300. So when they aggregate 1,000 listings and then choose what to put on the first page, they're getting a better population of their better listings in that case. Their search experience has changed to first push a differentiator against Vrbo, and then they've changed the way that you search so that way the title isn't as clicky and you really have to focus on photos as the reason why you click on a listing. Now I'm gonna give you something here. You know how it says sUpERhOst at the top left corner when you're sUpERhOst? What you can do with your hero photo, and your hero photo is the very first photo that people see before they click, you can make a little text bubble, do it in Photoshop, you can even do it on your phone and go a little lower than where it would say sUpERhOst and make one that says king bed or free Wi-Fi, free coffee, all that kind of stuff. Make a little text bubble that shows something that makes your space look special. And by doing this, your hero photo will then show that you have a king bed, since your listing description or title can't do it for you before people click. Once people click on your listing, there's almost zero that is different about the experience from there. And the only difference in experience was that your title wasn't showing in the beginning. The reason why you're not getting bookings is actually because your listing sucks. First, let's talk about the missed opportunity of your listing sucking. Remember when COVID hit and everybody thought we were all gonna die, right? And then Airbnb canceled everybody's reservations. But then all those houses in rural USA, people started booking left and right. So the Poconos made so much money, right? Or the Carolinas made so much money. Tennessee made so much money. Well, you know what you guys did wrong? And I don't want to rub your nose in it, but what you guys did wrong is you didn't adjust your prices and raise your prices, right? As everybody started getting booked, you're just happy to be getting booked at your full rate. What you didn't understand fast enough is that there was a dynamic change in travel and you could have increased your prices 20 to 50% and you would have still got 100% booked. You could have made thousands of dollars more by being more aggressive with your pricing on the way up. Now, if you're the kind of person that doesn't think to raise their prices in times like that, you're also the kind of person that is not thinking to lower their prices in times like this. Dynamic pricing is finding the truth in price. That is what it is. Day to day, how much your place is worth changes by tons of factors. Now, basic factors that you should know, and if you don't know these, I have a whole playlist on pricing strategy. There's not a single person in the planet who will give you this type of pricing strategy information for free. Not even Wheelhouse, Price Labs, or Beyond Pricing. They don't want to teach you this stuff because then you won't use their pricing algorithm because you'll know too much and you can do it yourself. There's not another person who's smart enough to understand it. I am tooting my own horn. Watch my playlist full of multiple hours of how to price your listing. It's highly relevant. My point here is we're finding the truth in price. And the basics are lead time. How many days into the future is your empty day? So if today's the 1st and you have the 14th and 15th open, that's 2 weeks out. But if today's the 1st and you have the 4th and the 5th open, that's only a few days out. Those prices should not be the same. Now, if you have the 14th and 15th open, those prices will be different than if you had the 14th, 15th, 16th, and 17th open. Surprise, surprise, when you have 4 days open, the prices should actually be slightly higher than if you only have 2 days open. The reason why is searchability for those dates. The less dates in a row that you have available, the harder it is to search for them. So as your calendar is more and more open, your prices should be higher. If you have a recent bad review, you need to hustle down your prices for the very near future and try to book up a bunch of little one-night stays and then try to crank 5-star reviews to bury a negative review if you can't get it removed. We talk about how to get reviews removed in this channel. We talk about everything on this channel. The most important days to drop price on are the days immediately after or the days immediately before a reservation. So if you have an open day touching a reservation, that is the hardest to search for day in your calendar. This is SEO stuff, guys. This is the most important stuff that there is to know about running an Airbnb listing, because what happens is Airbnb will start to generate back data on your listing. And if your listing is 90+% full all of the time, your core ranking on Airbnb will stay higher even when there's a downturn downturn like this. So all of your competitors that have been staying full because they've undercharged are ranking better than you because you've held price too much on the last 5 or 7 days of the month. This is why your listing sucks. It's dynamic pricing and you're not doing enough to find truth in your price and hit 100% occupancy. And that leads us to the full-blown SEO conversation about why your listing sucks. And guys, again, I'm saying this with all the love in the world. If your pricing strategy informs your SEO ranking on Airbnb because how full you are tells Airbnb how interesting your listing is, and let me back that up for you, Airbnb's algorithm, they have named it an interest algorithm. So what you need to know is they are looking to prove whether or not your listing is interesting before they rank your listing on Airbnb. And no, they did not change the algorithm. So if anybody on this planet is telling you that last month Airbnb changed the algorithm and all of a sudden I'm not getting bookings, that is not true. It is markedly false. And the reason why we're not getting bookings right now is actually due to the economy, due to inflation. There's a drop in consumer confidence. There are articles you can find online saying that families are canceling their summer vacations because of inflation. And what this does, of course, is puts inventory back in the market and people are waiting to find out what they're going to do this summer. So what you might find, and I want you to take this to the bank, guys, what you might find is your listing is still gonna get booked, but it's not gonna get booked 6 weeks or 8 weeks in advance like you're used to. And now you're scared. You're scared because you're expecting your calendar to be full 6 or 8 weeks in advance, but it's not going to be because there's no consumer confidence right now. And this is basic business, guys. People are too afraid to spend their money, they're not gonna spend it, but they're still gonna have the free time. They still have their vacation days. So what are they doing? They're holding out. They're holding out of their money, and last minute, they're gonna decide, are we gonna vacation or are we gonna staycation based on inflation, based on the market, based on how confident somebody is in the moment with their money. People are not gonna make far future decisions in an unstable market. So lead time is going to shrink up. So that means how far people are booking out will get closer and closer and closer. So if your normal lead time is 8 weeks, expect people to book 2 weeks out. If your lead time is a month, people are gonna book 5 to 8 days out. Your calendar will be empty until 5 days from now, and then boom, you're gonna get a booking. So you should be dropping your rates some, even 2 months into the future if this is correct, like even as much as 20%. But then you're gonna hold the line more last minute, you're gonna drop it less, more last minute, because people will be making more last minute booking changes. This is how you respond to the dynamics of the economy. This is basic business stuff, but it applies squarely to your Airbnb business. But we need to move on from pricing. Pricing informs SEO because the interest algorithm says so. But what else makes your listing interesting? The total number of clicks. And that's why your title did matter, right? And that's why my tip for your photos, where you put king bed in your photo now, that's going to matter. You need some clicks. Now, in order to have clicks, you need contrast against your competition. You don't even need a good space. You just need to know what photos your competition's using. Like for example, what's behind me is like beige, right? Beige and white. Now, if all of the photos on Airbnb are of log cabins or of interiors of homes that are beige and white, you need a photo that is different. So you need a photo that's like blue and yellow or like primarily red or like black walls. If your first photo is so different from all of your competition, then you get clicked because contrast creates interest. If you see 9 apples and a banana, your eye will go to the banana, not the 9 apples. We're always looking for outliers and patterns. We're pattern recognizing animals, but we're more interested when things break a pattern that we expect. So you're gonna go look at that banana. There is something notable to say that long-term you can plan for. It's not gonna fix your problem necessarily today. Most of us do believe that Airbnb is putting you guys into these curated spaces like bubble domes and the OMG section and the architecture section of Airbnb by grooming your descriptions, by going through your title, going through your descriptions, and then going through the reviews that people are leaving and what they say in their reviews about your place. They're trying to just aggregate everything that they can, and they're looking for keywords to put that into a short list of stuff for a review. I don't believe that everything is just automatically going into these curations without the human element verifying it. But what I think Airbnb is doing is Airbnb is pushing stuff to a very short list of groomable possible listings. And when they pop up, somebody's looking through and confirming if it should go in one curation category. So it's like tech facilitated, but it's finalized by a human. You need to have a legitimate like dome or tiny house in order to get on these lists, but Airbnb's scraping your data to find out if you even say tiny house in your stuff before they even show it to a person at their main office. Make sense? Another aspect of interest that Airbnb is tracking, and I've said this a few times before, is they're looking at hang time. And by hang time, I also mean bounce rate. If you guys know how websites work at all, if you've ever done any web design, bounce rate is what Google tracks. If somebody goes to your like website and then gets off your website really fast, they take that as a negative. Like, oh, I didn't want to be here, I'm leaving. So if somebody clicks on your Airbnb listing, then bounces, well, they weren't actually interested in your listing, and that'll actually undo the view that you get. But the longer somebody hangs out on your listing, the more hang time there is, the more engagement there is with like photos and stuff like that, Airbnb is taking that as a strong relationship with the user and your listing, and a strong relationship between their interest and your listing. So now you need to think, what keeps people on your listing? Well, a well-written description. It like embodies more of an aspect of storytelling, where you put the person in the space and kind of like walk them through their experience with good copywriting. That'll keep people on your listing. Even more important than your description though is the photos and how you set up your photos. See, 6 out of 10 travelers will go straight to the photos when they look at a listing. And that's why Airbnb took away the title, is because the data is strongly in favor of photos. But did you know that even though there only shows one photo on your Airbnb listing when you're like going through the map view, the moment they click on your listing, 4 more photos pop up. So your first 5 photos matter, like the preview version of all 5 matter. Because when you're on the desktop version of Airbnb and you're going through a listing, you're gonna see their title, you're gonna see their review count, the review average number, they're gonna see 5 photos. And the first thing they're gonna do is go click through some 5 photos. What you need to do is make sure that those 5 photos aren't out of the same room. One of the main cardinal sins of photos that I see you guys do is you put 5 of the same room up on the photo. Like you love your living room, like the couch is great, you got this cool faux grass wall, and the TV's the hugest TV ever. So that's your hero photo. But the next 4 photos are also photos of your living room, just different angles. That is a no-no, guys. First off, every single photo should incrementally sell somebody more in your space. So do you need 5 photos of your living room if you could have done it in 2 or 3? And if you can do it in 2 or 3, your first 3 photos should be the living room. The second one should be your kitchen, maybe. The third one should be your backyard if you have a bomb backyard. If you got a pool or a hot tub or a gym, the 4th photo should be something like that. Every photo should be different. Starting photo number 6, you can then do your real estate style tour. Too many of you are from real estate and you do all the same real estate stuff and you're making all these real estate mistakes in your hospitality business. This is hospitality, guys. So if you want to do the real estate home tour, start it on photo 6, because the first 5 need to be a diversified like teaser of your listing. Now, other things, no vertical photos. Airbnb is optimized for horizontal view. Mobile and desktop. They want to see horizontal photos. Vertical photos interrupt the experience and will notch down your SEO. Additionally, you need to have at least 8 photos. They have to be good quality. Airbnb likes slightly brighter photos than slightly darker photos, so make sure your exposure is on the upper half of medium. Then you need to make sure that you're taking photos of key stuff. If you have a living room shot with your TV, your living room shot with the TV should have your TV on something like Disney Plus, if you like go for families. If your space is a place that really does good in sports town, it should be on ESPN or something like that. Now, you need to make sure that your TV is on, showing that you have streaming services that serve your type of customer. Then you should also have what I call a close-up shot of your coffee station. I do previous videos on what makes a really great coffee station, but what you need to know is that 1 out of every 3 travelers, they prefer decaf or tea. So if you don't have decaf and tea, you're really kind of making 1 out of 3 travelers go, I don't feel understood. I don't feel seen. I don't feel welcome. But by having decaf tea with your coffee station and taking a close-up photo so they can see that you do, you're answering one question that is so crucial to 1 out of every 3 people. Further, your kitchen should have the kitchen staged. Your pots and pans should be on the stovetop, all that kind of stuff. And you should have like a medium tight shot of your kitchen with the pots and pans and a cutting board and knife and all the mise en place style setup. And I have a whole video on what makes a good kitchen. But these are all little incremental changes that make a huge impact in somebody's photo experience. If you don't show people that you have certain things in the photos, they won't know that you have them and they'll just give up on your listing. So this kind of stuff drives actual bookings when really all we're still trying to do is keep people on our listing. But having photos that really tell the story will keep people hanging on your listing, but also increase the chance that somebody's going to book. So if you want to keep people on your listing, don't have photos that don't serve the experience, right? So go back through your real estate style view. If you wanted to show like a photo of your washer and dryer, but the room's like really dingy and dark and kind of like disheveled, I don't think that's a good photo. Because you could still unsell somebody. You could lower their buying temperature by having kind of a bad photo of an amenity that you want them to see. Find a way to fix that room up or take some stock photos of a washer and dryer and put them in your photo tour. But remember, just remove any photos that can like snap somebody out of the experience. Bad photos knock people out of the buying experience and they go on to the next listing. Another reason why your listing sucks is because it's the same in design as all of your competition. If you went onto Airbnb right now and looked at your competition, you go through the photos, you will see that half of the listings have a very similar color scheme. Regionally, the way that people do their design and their experience tends to fall into similar baskets, which I think is so wild. Maybe it's because when people look at other people's listings, they decide they like something and they copy it, but then too many people copy it. So you have a lot of blues and browns, right? Or you have a lot of pastels in an area, or you'll have a lot of Native American like throws and stuff like that. Or everybody's doing boho all of a sudden, or everybody's doing like mid-century or farmhouse. You get my point. Now the thing though is, if you aren't contrasting your design style against your competition, well then you're more of the same. So people will lose interest in your photos faster because it's too similar to all the other ones that they've looked at. So if you want to make sure that you keep people's interest, you need to pick a design style that is truly unique from your competition. And that'll make people click on your listing because they honestly want to see more because you're finally something that they haven't seen before. Other fast basics, you need to fill out all of the boxes that you can on Airbnb, like getting around, other things to know, all that stuff. And don't be lazy. Don't just write gibberish in there because of course people are gonna read it. You could always unsell somebody by accident by putting in like a half-hearted effort into your descriptions. But Airbnb boosts you if everything is completed, so do it, but just don't do a lazy job of it because you don't want to get caught with a guest and then think that you're just like not a good host because of the way you wrote something. You want to be careful for that. And then another tip, you need to be utilizing discounts, 2-day, 3-day, 4-day discounts, because Airbnb puts these little suggestions down in the calendar section, over on the right when you can reserve. They'll say add another day for 15% off or stuff like that. Now what that'll do, it'll make people consider changing their dates to maybe fit in a longer stay to get a discount. So now they're playing with your calendar a little bit. They're tooling around. Now you're giving people choices. It's no longer yes or no. This is a sales technique, guys. It's no longer just yes or no, will I stay here, but what dates will I stay here? And if you can change somebody's shopping experience to do I want this listing and get them to rethink it to how many days would I like this listing for, now you've changed the narrative and they're more likely to finalize their booking with you. If you want to change the narrative too, put calls to action. Any of you who do online marketing know what a call to action is, right? There's call to actions in the description of this video. Obviously, if I told you to like and subscribe, those are calls to action in the video, right guys? So like and subscribe. If you look at calls to action and how they work, as somebody's reading your copyright, you then wind in, so book today, or send us a message if you'd like to know about X, Y, or Z. By doing exactly that, they'll send you a message and ask you a question, or they will book today for an incentive that you gave them. So consider calls to action in your description. And if you want to know why else your listing sucks, join the group, The Hosts of Airbnb Automated. It's over 40,000 members strong. And what we will do is we will look at your listing in that group, The Hosts of Airbnb Automated. You post it and say, hey guys, this is my listing. I want to know what sucks about my listing. Give me some feedback. I and a ton of other hosts who have tons of years of experience and watching these videos, they're very good at what they do, will give you honest feedback about your listing. And this will be the hardest anybody's ever been on you. The people in that group are very nice. They're very nice hosts. A lot of them are super, by the way. I hope you survived this video without your feelings getting hurt, but I need you guys to understand that you need to take an honest look at your business. It's not the algorithm. It's not Airbnb's front end. You guys have just been too lazy because it's been too easy to make money on Airbnb. Get on Vrbo, get on Booking.com, get on PEERSPACE, diversify, because if nothing else works, it's just that Airbnb travelers are migrating away from Airbnb and they're getting somewhere else, and they'll still find you if you're multi-platform. Like I said, half of my bookings are on Vrbo, and we're apartments in the city. I don't want to tell you your listing sucks anymore, but thank you so much for watching this video. I hope this helps. Hit me up in the comments, and I'll see you on the other side.